Rebecca Smith sat by the window of a small coffee shop, dressed in her black formal wear. She sipped her coffee slowly, watching people move about the busy street. The warm colors of the shop made her feel a little better, but she still wasn't happy. At 27, Rebecca was a successful architect. She was one of the best in her city, but her love life was a mess. Unfortunately, even though she enjoyed great success as an architect, her love life hadn't worked out the same way. Despite being surrounded by male colleagues, Rebecca's rigid personality managed to drive them far away. Her peers at work called her the Ice Queen, but none of them knew the real Rebecca, who was quite different outside the office. Her mother, Mary Smith, was always nagging her about getting married. Mary had set up so many blind dates for Rebecca that she had lost count. This was her 98th date, and the second one this week. Rebecca didn't want to be here. She stirred a sugar cube into her coffee, wishing she could just tell her mother to stop. But Mary wouldn't stop comparing her to younger women who already had children or grandchildren. Rebecca sighed and touched her face. Her skin was still smooth, but it didn't feel like it did 7 years ago. Back then, she had been excited about love. Now she just wanted to find someone who wasn't too hard to live with. Her date was late. Rebecca checked her watch. It had been more than 3 minutes. Normally, she would have walked out by now, but her mother had told her this man was special. He was the son of Mary's old friend and had just come back from living abroad. If Rebecca left, Mary would make her go on more dates, and Rebecca was tired of them. Finally, the man arrived. "Excuse me, are you Rebecca Smith?" he asked. "I'm sorry I'm late. The traffic was terrible." Rebecca looked up. The man, John Brown, was dressed in a simple shirt and trousers. His shoes looked old, but he had a kind smile. "It's okay," Rebecca said, forcing a smile. "I just got here." But inside she was annoyed. Everyone knew the traffic in this city was bad. Why didn't he leave earlier? Still, Rebecca decided to stay and give him a chance. John sat down and they ordered coffee and snacks. He asked Rebecca about her job and her hobbies. His voice was calm and gentle, and Rebecca found herself talking more than she expected. John was not like the other men Rebecca had met. He seemed honest and didn't try too hard to impress her, but Rebecca noticed something strange. Even though he dressed like someone struggling with money, he spoke with confidence. He seemed to know a lot about architecture, even though he said he wasn't an architect. "Have you studied buildings before?" Rebecca asked. "Not really," John said with a smile, "but I like to read about them. I think buildings are like stories. They tell us a lot about the people who live in them." Rebecca nodded, surprised. She didn't expect someone dressed so simply to think like that. As they continued their conversation, John's phone suddenly rang. He glanced at the screen briefly and then silenced it, placing it face down on the table. Rebecca noticed his reaction and raised an eyebrow. "Aren't you going to answer that? It could be important." John shook his head with a polite smile. "It's nothing urgent. I don't want to be rude." Rebecca's curiosity was piqued. "You should pick it. I don't mind waiting." John hesitated, then let out a small sigh. "Okay, if you insist. I will just step outside for a moment." He grabbed his phone and excused himself, walking toward the coffee shop's entrance. Rebecca sipped her coffee, her eyes following John as he stepped outside. Something about his body language seemed off, nervous, maybe even guilty. Her instincts told her to pay attention. Unable to resist her curiosity, Rebecca stood up quietly and walked toward the glass door. She stayed hidden, but close enough to hear his conversation. Outside, John answered the call, his voice low. "Hello? Why are you calling now?" A woman's voice came through, filled with frustration. "John, don't act like you don't know why I'm calling. I've been waiting all day for you to send the money. The rent is due, and the kids need groceries." Rebecca froze. Kids? Rent? She pressed her back against the wall, her heart pounding. "Listen, I told you I'd handle it later," John said, sounding irritated. "I'm busy right now." The woman's voice grew sharper. "Busy doing what? Are you on one of those fake business meetings again? I can't keep covering for you with the landlord, John. We need that money now." John sighed deeply. "I will sort it out, okay? Just stop calling me every 5 minutes." "Stop calling you?" The woman shot back. "I'm your wife, John. I have every right to call you when you're out pretending to be something you're not." Rebecca's breath caught in her throat. "Wife? The word echoed in her mind like a thunderclap. She stepped out from behind the wall, her fists clenched. "John," she called out, her voice sharp. John spun around, startled. His face turned pale when he saw her standing there glaring at him. Rebecca stormed up to him. "Who are you talking to, John? Or should I say, what are you hiding?" John stammered, trying to compose himself. "Rebecca, it's not what you think. It's exactly what I think," Rebecca snapped, cutting him off. "I heard everything. You have a wife and kids. You came here pretending to be single. Do you think I'm stupid?" John reached out as if to calm her down, but Rebecca stepped back. "Rebecca, please, let me explain. It's complicated." "Complicated?" she said, her voice dripping with anger. "You lied to me, John. You wasted my time and made me think you were someone you're not. Who even does that?" John shook his head, his tone desperate. "It's not like that. My wife and we're not really together anymore. We're just staying under the same roof for the kids, that's all." Rebecca's laugh was bitter. "Oh, really? Is that why she's calling you about rent and groceries? Because you're so separated? Do you think I'm gullible enough to believe that?" "Rebecca, I'm telling you the truth," John insisted. But Rebecca wasn't having it. She stepped closer, her eyes blazing. "You lied to me once already. Why should I believe anything you say now? You're a liar, John, and I don't have time for liars." John opened his mouth to respond, but Rebecca held up a hand to stop him. "Don't even bother. I'm done here. Don't contact me. Don't try to explain. Just stay out of my life." Without waiting for his reply, Rebecca turned and walked back into the coffee shop. She grabbed her bag and left, ignoring the curious stares of other customers. As Rebecca drove, her mind was in chaos. Anger and humiliation burned within her as she replayed John's lies in her head. She gripped the steering wheel tightly, her knuckles turning white. The nerve of him, pretending to be single, acting so innocent. What kind of person does that? Her phone buzzed, interrupting her thoughts. Glancing at the screen, she saw it was her mother. With a sigh, she picked up the call through her car's hands-free system. "Rebecca, how did the date go?" Her mother's cheerful voice came through. Rebecca clenched her jaw. "Mum, I really don't want to talk about it right now." "What happened this time? Did he not show up, or was he rude?" "Rebecca, you need to start being more patient with people." Rebecca rolled her eyes. "Mom, I'll explain everything when I see you. Right now, I'm not in the mood. Please, just let me cool off." Her mother sighed. "All right, but don't wait too long. You know how I worry about you." "Okay, Mum, I will come by later," Rebecca said, her voice calmer, though the storm in her chest remained. As the call ended, her stomach grumbled loudly, reminding her that she hadn't eaten much all day. Looking around, she realized she was far from the city center, where restaurants were easy to find. The area was quieter, with only a few roadside stalls selling fruits and snacks. She spotted a vendor with a colorful array of fruits and decided to stop. Parking her car by the roadside, she got out, inhaling the scent of ripe bananas and fresh pineapples. The vendor, an elderly woman with kind eyes, greeted her warmly. Rebecca selected a bunch of bananas and a few oranges, her thoughts still clouded by the disastrous date. Just as she was handing over the money, she felt a light tap on her shoulder. Startled, she turned around to see a man standing there. His clothes were worn and patched in several places, and his shoes looked like they had seen better days. Yet, despite his shabby appearance, there was something striking about him. His face was handsome, with sharp features and deep brown eyes that held a quiet sadness. "Excuse me, ma'am," he said softly, his voice steady but humble. "I'm really sorry to bother you, but I haven't eaten in 2 days. Could you spare me some change for food?" Rebecca froze, surprised by his honesty. She had seen beggars before, but there was something different about this man. His dignity shone through his tired appearance, and his eyes seemed to hold a story she couldn't quite grasp. Without thinking, she reached into her bag and pulled out some money. "Here," she said, handing him a few bills. The man's eyes widened in surprise as he looked at the money. "Thank you so much," he said, his voice filled with gratitude. "You have no idea how much this means to me." Rebecca gave him a small smile, though her mind was still reeling from the events of the day. "It's okay. Just take care of yourself." The man hesitated for a moment, as if he wanted to say something more. Then he nodded and stepped back, clutching the money tightly. Rebecca watched him walk away. Who was he? What had brought him to this point? There was a quiet strength about him, a resilience that intrigued her. As she got back into her car, she couldn't shake the encounter from her mind. For a brief moment, her anger at John faded, replaced by a strange sense of purpose. The next morning, Rebecca woke up earlier than usual. She couldn't shake the image of the man she had met by the roadside the day before. There was something about him, something raw and genuine, that made her curious. She found herself wanting to know more about his story. After her morning coffee, she decided to go back to the same spot. She wasn't entirely sure if he would be there, but something in her heart urged her to try. When she arrived at the roadside stall, the elderly fruit vendor greeted her again with a warm smile. Rebecca glanced around, searching for him, and her heart skipped when she spotted him sitting under a tree nearby. He looked even more exhausted in the daylight, but his posture was upright, and there was a quiet dignity in the way he held himself. He seemed lost in thought, staring at the horizon, as if searching for answers the world hadn't given him. Rebecca walked over, her heels crunching softly on the gravel. The man noticed her and quickly stood up, his expression a mix of surprise and nervousness. "Good morning," Rebecca said, her voice soft but confident. "Good morning, Ma'am," he replied, his tone respectful. "I thought I'd see you here," Rebecca continued. "I didn't catch your name yesterday." The man hesitated for a moment before answering. "My name is Benjamin," he said, his voice steady. "I'm just a poor man from a poor family. I lost my parents years ago, and since then, life has been hard." Rebecca nodded, her curiosity deepening. "Benjamin, can I ask you something?" "Of course," he said, his eyes meeting hers with a mix of curiosity and caution. "How come you speak so well?" Rebecca asked. "You don't sound like someone who grew up without opportunities." Benjamin gave a small, shy smile. "I listen to people," he said simply. "When I walk past people talking, I pay attention. I hear the way they speak, the words they use. Over time, I've learned to speak like them." Rebecca was impressed. "That's incredible," she said, genuinely amazed. "You're a fast learner." Benjamin smiled. "It's the only way I can hold on to some hope. I may not have much, but I can still learn." Rebecca smiled, feeling a strange warmth in her chest. She liked his honesty, his humility. There was no pretense about him, no arrogance. He was just real. "Benjamin," she began, choosing her words carefully, "would you mind if we became friends?" Benjamin blinked as if he hadn't heard her correctly. "Friends," he repeated, his voice filled with disbelief. "Yes," Rebecca said with a nod. "I think you're an interesting person, and I'd like to know more about you." Benjamin looked at her, his expression a mixture of shock and gratitude. "Are you serious? A woman like you wants to be friends with someone like me?" "Why not?" Rebecca asked, her tone light but sincere. "Friendship isn't about money or status, it's about connection, and I think we could be good friends." For a moment, Benjamin didn't know what to say. His life had been filled with rejection, with people looking down on him or pretending he didn't exist. And now here was this beautiful, wealthy woman offering him something he never expected: friendship. I'd be honored," Benjamin finally said, his voice thick with emotion. "Thank you, Rebecca. I don't know why you're doing this, but thank you." Rebecca smiled warmly. "It's nothing, Benjamin. Let's just take it one day at a time." As they talked more, Rebecca learned little details about Benjamin's life. He had grown up in a small village, losing his parents to illness when he was just a teenager. With no one to turn to, he had come to the city in search of a better life, but the harsh realities of the world had left him on the streets. Rebecca listened intently, her heart breaking at the struggles he had faced. But despite everything, Benjamin's spirit remained unbroken. Before leaving, Rebecca handed him some money and promised to visit again. Rebecca walked into her apartment, the events of the day playing through her mind. She felt a strange mix of emotions: relief, excitement, and even a little peace. She couldn't believe she had actually made a new friend, especially someone so different from the people she usually surrounded herself with. She placed her purse on the table and sat down, thinking about their conversation. Benjamin's story had moved her in a way she hadn't expected. Despite his hardships, he was kind, well-spoken, and full of life. It was refreshing to meet someone who didn't want anything from her. No money, no favors, just genuine friendship. She had enjoyed their talk more than any blind date she'd been on in the past few months. Her phone buzzed, snapping her out of her thoughts. It was her mother calling. Rebecca sighed, but this time there was no frustration in her heart. She knew what the conversation would be like. Her mother had been relentless about finding her a husband, but Rebecca wasn't in the mood for any pressure tonight. She answered the call with a soft, "Hello, Mum." "Rebecca, how was the date?" "Was he nice?" her mother asked eagerly. Rebecca chuckled, the memories of John's behavior still fresh in her mind. "It didn't go well, Mum. I found out he's married." Her mother gasped. "What? Married? That's terrible." Rebecca could hear the anger in her mother's voice. "I'm fine, Mum. I'm actually relieved. But don't worry, I'm not letting this get to me. I met someone today, a new friend, and we had a great conversation. He's not like the usual men you set me up with." Her mother's voice softened. "A new friend? That's good, I suppose, but remember, Rebecca, you're not getting any younger. And you know how I feel about this. We need more grandchildren in this family. You have to find someone before our family reunion next month." Rebecca smiled to herself. "Yes, Mum, I know. Don't worry, I'm sure I'll find him. You'll meet him soon." Her mother sighed, but there was warmth in her voice when she spoke again. "I know, my dear. Just take your time, but don't take too long, okay?" "I promise, Mum. I'll figure it out. I'm not rushing anything. I want it to be real this time." As the call ended, Rebecca felt a sense of calm wash over her. The next morning, Rebecca couldn't shake off an idea that had formed in her mind. As much as she hated giving in to her mother's pressure, she couldn't bear the thought of showing up alone at the family reunion. She had endured years of snide remarks from her cousins and aunts, always asking why she was still single. This time, she was determined to change the narrative, even if it meant bending the truth. She got ready, drove to the spot where she had first met Christopher, and found him sitting on the same bench. He greeted her with his usual warm smile, his eyes lighting up, as if he'd been waiting for her. "Rebecca, you came back," he said, genuinely surprised. "Yes, I did," Rebecca said with a nervous laugh. "Christopher, I need your help with something. I know this might sound crazy, but hear me out." Christopher became curious as he listened. Rebecca hesitated for a moment, then continued, "I need you to pretend to be my fiancé." "What?" Christopher's jaw nearly dropped, his surprise turning into confusion. "Why would you ask me that?" Rebecca took a deep breath. "My family has been on my case about getting married for years. They're relentless, and there's a family reunion coming up in 2 months. If I show up alone again, I will be the laughingstock of the entire family. I need someone to pretend to be my fiancé, and I thought, maybe you could help me. I'll pay you well. You won't have to worry about anything for a long time." Christopher stared at her, unsure of what to say. "You want me, a homeless man, to pretend to be your fiancé? Rebecca, I'm not sure I'm the right person for this." Rebecca smiled. "You're perfect. No one in my family knows you, and you're smart. I'll teach you everything you need to know. Please, Christopher, I really need this." Christopher thought for a moment, then nodded. "All right. If it means that much to you, I'll do it." Rebecca clapped her hands in relief. "Thank you, but there's a catch. You'll need to stay with me so I can teach you how to act the part. We'll work on your appearance and how to behave around my family." Christopher hesitated, but finally agreed. "If you think I can do this, I'm willing to try." Rebecca wasted no time. She took Christopher to a salon where a barber gave him a proper haircut and trimmed his beard. As the barber worked, Rebecca couldn't believe how much Christopher transformed. When he turned to look at her after the cut, she gasped. "Wow," she whispered. "You look amazing." Christopher rubbed the back of his neck, embarrassed by her reaction. "It's just a haircut, Rebecca." "No," Rebecca said, "it's not just the haircut. You're actually very handsome." They left the salon, and Rebecca took him shopping for clothes. She picked out several outfits for him, suits, casual wear, and even shoes. Christopher looked uncomfortable at first, but Rebecca encouraged him. "You will need these if you're going to convince my family you're my fiancé," she said with a smile. By the time they were done, Christopher looked like a completely different person. As they drove back to Rebecca's house, he looked out the window, deep in thought. When they arrived, Rebecca showed him to the guest room. "This will be your room for the next 2 months," she said. "We will start your training tomorrow. You'll learn how to act, talk, and everything else you need to know." Christopher nodded. "Thank you, Rebecca. I will do my best not to let you down." Rebecca smiled. "I know you won't. Now get some rest. We have a lot to do." The next day, Rebecca was in her office, going through some paperwork, when her phone suddenly rang. She glanced at the caller ID and saw John's name flash across the screen. She sighed, already irritated. John had a way of popping up at the worst times, and today was no different. She reluctantly answered the call, trying to keep her voice calm. "Hello, John," she said, her tone cool. John's voice came through, filled with mockery and laughter. "Oh, you foolish girl. So you've chosen to spend your money on a poor man. I saw you the other day buying clothes for him. With the way he looked, so scared and nervous around you, I can tell he's very poor." "What nonsense, Rebecca." Rebecca clenched her fist, but she refused to let his words get to her. Instead, she took a deep breath, her voice steady as she fired back. "At least he's not married, John. He's more handsome, more intelligent, and more respectful than you could ever dream of being. He's not married, unlike you, pretending to be a good husband while cheating. And you know what? He's got class, something you will never understand." John chuckled, thinking she was upset, but Rebecca wasn't done. She let out a quick laugh before adding, "And by the way, John, they say a man who talks too much is trying to cover up something. You must be hiding a lot, huh? Like maybe the fact that your wife is the real man in the relationship?" There was silence on the other end of the line. John was probably trying to come up with a comeback, but Rebecca wasn't giving him any space to speak. "You know, John," Rebecca continued, "I've heard that some people are like bad Wi-Fi, always trying to connect, but never really going anywhere. That's you, John." Before he could respond, Rebecca hung up. She leaned back in her chair, satisfied. John had tried to put her down, but she wasn't having any of it. She had fired back with the truth and some humor that he would probably be thinking about for days. She smiled, knowing she was better off without him. When Rebecca got home that evening, she was still feeling a little light-hearted from her conversation with John. As she walked through the door, her phone buzzed. It was a message from her friend, Tasha, asking if she could come over to talk. Not long after, Tasha arrived looking concerned. "Rebecca, I don't get it," Tasha said, sitting down on the couch and looking at her friend with a mixture of confusion and worry. "How can you even think of taking a homeless stranger into your home? Aren't you scared? You don't know anything about him. What if he's dangerous?" Rebecca raised an eyebrow, surprised at Tasha's reaction. She had never seen her friend so uneasy. "Tasha, I understand why you're worried," Rebecca said, sitting down beside her. "But honestly, Christopher is different. I can feel it. He's kind and respectful. He's not like the others, I can tell. And I'm not just doing this out of some sort of charity. He's a human being. People like him deserve a chance too." Tasha shook her head, still not convinced. "But Rebecca, he's a stranger. A homeless man, no less. What if he's pretending to be nice just to get into your good books? What if he's not who he says he is?" Rebecca sighed, running a hand through her hair. "I thought about all that, Tasha. I've been cautious, but I'm trusting my instincts. I can see that Christopher is different. He's not asking for anything. He's not even trying to get close to me. He's just someone in need, and I want to help. Sometimes we have to step out of our comfort zones to do the right thing." Tasha stared at her for a moment, as if weighing Rebecca's words. Finally, she spoke. "I get that you want to help, but be careful, okay? Not everyone is as trustworthy as they seem. I just don't want you to get hurt." Rebecca smiled warmly at her friend. "I appreciate your concern, Tasha. I'll be careful, I promise. But I think we all deserve a little bit of kindness. I'm willing to give it to him. Who knows? Maybe he'll teach me something about life, something I've been missing." Tasha seemed to relax a little, though her concern still lingered in her eyes. "Just don't let your guard down too much, okay?" Rebecca nodded. "I won't. I'll take it slow, and if I feel uncomfortable, I'll do what I have to do. But right now, I trust him, and I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt." Over the next few days, Rebecca couldn't deny the growing connection she felt with Christopher. At first, it had been just about helping him get back on his feet, offering him a place to stay, and teaching him a little about how to live more comfortably. But slowly, something changed. Their conversations deepened, and Rebecca began to admire his gentle nature, his intelligence, and how easy it was to talk to him. Christopher, too, had started opening up more to her. He'd been through so much in his life, and his stories about the struggles he'd faced had a way of pulling at her heart. She could see the kindness in his eyes, and it made her feel safe, something she hadn't realized she'd been missing in her life. One evening, as they sat on the couch together, talking about their day, Rebecca realized how close she'd gotten to him. She looked at him, and for a brief moment their eyes locked. The air between them felt different, heavier, like something was about to shift. "Christopher," she whispered, her voice soft but filled with emotion. "I never expected to feel this way about you. I don't know when it happened, but you've become someone very important to me." Christopher paused, his eyes searching hers, and he gently placed his hand on hers. "Rebecca, I never planned for this either. But there's something about you, your kindness, your strength, that makes me want to be a better man. I'm not perfect, but I want to be good for you." Rebecca's heart raced as she felt the heat of his touch, and before she knew it, they were moving closer. Their lips met softly at first, tentative and unsure, but soon the kiss deepened, filled with the unspoken emotions they had been holding back. It wasn't just a kiss. It was a moment of vulnerability, of raw emotion, of letting go of their fears and allowing themselves to feel something real. And as the kiss continued, Rebecca felt a warmth spread through her chest, something she hadn't felt in a long time. They broke the kiss, both of them breathless. Rebecca's heart pounded as she looked at him, unsure of what to say next. She'd never imagined herself in this situation with a man she'd just met, especially not someone like Christopher. But in that moment, it didn't matter. All that mattered was the way he made her feel. "Are you sure about this?" she asked quietly. Christopher smiled, his eyes soft and full of tenderness. "I've never been more sure of anything in my life." With that, Rebecca let herself relax, allowing herself to trust him fully. They kissed again, this time with more urgency, more passion. It was as if all the walls they'd built around themselves had crumbled, and they were finally free to be with each other. Later that night, as they lay together in the quiet of the room, Rebecca's thoughts raced. She had never expected to feel this way, never imagined that someone like Christopher, who had so little in the material sense, could give her so much in the emotional one. She had let go of her doubts, her fears, and allowed herself to experience something truly beautiful. Christopher gently pulled her closer, his arms wrapped around her protectively. "Rebecca, I know this is all new, but I promise I won't hurt you. I care about you more than I ever thought possible." Rebecca smiled, her heart swelling with affection. "I believe you, Christopher. And for the first time in a long time, I feel like I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be." The next day, Rebecca and Christopher went to a jewelry store to pick out a ring. They were standing in front of a glass display case, looking at a variety of rings, each more beautiful than the last. Rebecca had made up her mind to find something that wasn't too expensive. After all, the engagement was just a charade to impress her mother, not a real proposal. But as they looked at the rings, something unexpected happened. The store clerk, an older woman with kind eyes, came up to them and smiled. "Is there a particular style you're looking for?" she asked. Rebecca hesitated, glancing at Christopher. "We just need something simple," she said. "Nothing too flashy." The woman nodded and led them to a different section of the store, where the rings were sparkling with brilliance. She picked up a ring from the counter, a diamond that seemed to glow more than the others. "How about this one?" she asked, holding it out for them to see. Rebecca's eyes widened. The diamond was stunning, so clear, so perfect. It looked like something out of a dream. "It's beautiful," she murmured, "but I think it might be a little too expensive." The clerk smiled knowingly. "Actually, this ring is already paid for. It's free for you." Rebecca blinked in surprise. "Free? What do you mean free? How can a ring like this be free?" She could hardly believe what she was hearing. This ring was worth far more than anything she'd ever expected to spend on a simple engagement ring. Christopher, too, seemed surprised. "Are you sure? It doesn't seem right." The woman nodded, her face serious. "It's a special gift from someone who wishes to remain anonymous. They've already covered the cost, so this ring is yours, no charge." Rebecca's mind was racing. "But why?" she asked, still trying to wrap her head around what was happening. "Why would someone do this for us?" "I don't know, dear," the clerk replied with a smile. "But some gifts are meant to be accepted." No need to question it. Christopher, sensing Rebecca's hesitation, gently placed his hand on hers. Let's not refuse a gift. We've come this far, and this may be a sign. Rebecca wasn't sure what to think. A free ring that expensive didn't make sense. But Christopher was right. Sometimes gifts were meant to be accepted, even when they didn't come with clear explanations. She looked at him, his calm demeanor reassuring her. All right, she said, a little uncertain but grateful. We'll take it. The clerk smiled, wrapping the ring carefully and placing it in a velvet box. I'm glad you've chosen it. I hope it brings you much happiness. They thanked the woman and left the store, still in shock at what had just happened. As they walked back to the car, the weight of the situation began to settle on Rebecca. The ring was worth 3 times the price of her house. It didn't make sense. Who would give away something so precious without any strings attached? When they arrived home, Rebecca sat down, staring at the ring in her hands. Christopher sat next to her, his own thoughts swirling. I don't know what to make of this, he admitted. It's strange. But I think it's a good thing. Maybe someone out there is watching over us. Rebecca nodded slowly, still confused but comforted by his words. I don't know. It feels like we've stepped into a story that doesn't belong to us. Christopher smiled softly, placing his hand on hers again. Sometimes life has a way of surprising us. I believe that this ring, this gift, is just another step on the path we're supposed to walk. Rebecca looked at him, her heart swelling. I never imagined something like this would happen. But I'm glad we're in this together. He nodded, pulling her close. Me too. No matter what happens, I'll be here. And we'll figure this out together. As Rebecca held the ring in her hand, a sense of calm began to wash over her. Maybe she didn't understand everything that was happening, but one thing was clear. Her life was changing in ways she never expected. Rebecca sat on the edge of her bed, holding the sparkling diamond ring in her hand. The light from her bedside lamp made it glimmer beautifully, but her heart was still filled with confusion. Who could have bought such an extravagant gift? Christopher was equally puzzled, and that made things even more mysterious. As she sat there, lost in thought, her phone rang. Share your thoughts in the comments below. It was Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Make sure to turn on notifications so you don't miss the next part of this exciting story. The room. See you in the next episode. I'm fine, Mum. Just thinking about some things, Rebecca replied carefully, not wanting to bring up the ring yet. Her mother chuckled. I know you're thinking about that beautiful ring. That's why I called. Rebecca froze. Wait. Mum, how do you know about the ring? Well, I was the one who paid for it, her mother said proudly. I have been saving for years, my dear. I always told myself, the day my daughter finds someone special to her heart, I will buy her the most beautiful ring to show her how proud I am. Rebecca's jaw dropped and she sat up straighter. What? You bought the ring? Mum, are you serious? How did you even know we were shopping for one? Her mother laughed softly. Rebecca, you think I don't know you? You may not have told me outright, but I can tell from the way you talk about this Christopher whenever I call. There's a glow in your voice. Even though I haven't met him, I just know he's the one for you. So, when I saw a chance to do something special for my daughter, I took it. Rebecca was stunned. Mum, I don't even know what to say, but I haven't told you that we're getting married. Why would you assume? Her mother cut her off with a knowing laugh. Ah, Rebecca, my child, a mother knows her daughter's heart. The way you talk about him, the way you defend him when I ask about him. It's clear he's special to you. Whether you've admitted it to yourself or not, you love him. And I'm sure he loves you too. Rebecca's eyes softened and she felt a lump form in her throat. Mum, you never cease to amaze me. I don't know what to say. Thank you so much for the ring. It's beautiful. I love it. Her mother's voice was filled with joy. That's all I wanted to hear. And remember, Rebecca, this is your life. Don't be afraid to follow your heart. Don't let anything or anyone stop you. As Rebecca hung up, she stared at the ring again, her emotions swirling. Her mother's gesture touched her deeply, but it also added weight to the growing feelings she had for Christopher. She sighed and lay back on the bed, clutching the ring to her chest. Mum, you really do amaze me, she whispered to herself, a small smile forming on her lips. It was a sunny morning, and Christopher was enjoying the peaceful silence of the house when the doorbell rang. He wasn't expecting anyone, so he hesitated for a moment before walking to the door. When he opened it, he was surprised to see Tasha standing there, dressed in an elegant outfit and wearing a wide smile. "Hi, Christopher," Tasha greeted, her tone unusually sweet. "Hello," Christopher replied cautiously. "Rebecca isn't home. She's at work." "I know," Tasha said, stepping inside without waiting for an invitation. "I came to see you, not Rebecca." Christopher frowned slightly, unsure of what to make of her sudden visit. "You came to see me? Why?" Tasha chuckled, flipping her long hair over her shoulder as she walked further into the living room. "Christopher, let's not beat around the bush. You're a handsome man, and I like you." Christopher's eyebrows shot up in surprise. "You like me?" "I'm sorry, Tasha, but weren't you the one who said you could never marry someone like me?" "I overheard you clearly the other day." Tasha waved dismissively, as though brushing off her own words. "Oh, that? I wasn't serious. People say things they don't mean all the time. Besides, you're different. You're too handsome for Rebecca." Christopher folded his arms, his expression hardening. "What's that supposed to mean?" Tasha smiled slyly, taking a step closer to him. "It means you deserve better. Look, Rebecca is nice, but she's not on your level. She's too busy with work, too local. She doesn't know how to have fun. Me, I'm everything she's not. I come from a wealthy family just like her, and I can take care of you better than she ever could." Christopher stared at her in disbelief, then shook his head. "Tasha, I think you have misunderstood something. Rebecca is the one who gave me a chance when the whole world looked down on me. She didn't care about my past or where I came from. She saw the person I am, not what I have or don't have. That's something money can't buy." Tasha's smile faded, but she quickly recovered. "Come on, Christopher, let's not pretend. You're just staying here because of this fake engagement thing. It's not like you love her. Why waste your time when you could be with someone like me?" Christopher took a deep breath, his patience wearing thin. "Tasha, let me make this clear. Even if Rebecca and I weren't pretending, I still wouldn't choose you. You're shallow and disrespectful. If you can talk about your own friend like this behind her back, how could I ever trust you?" Tasha's face turned red with embarrassment and anger. "You'll regret this, Christopher. When Rebecca gets tired of you, don't come running to me." Christopher stood his ground. "I think it's time for you to leave, Tasha." Without another word, Tasha stormed out of the house, slamming the door behind her. Christopher sighed and sat down on the couch, running a hand through his hair. "I can't believe her," he muttered to himself. "Rebecca deserves better friends than that." Rebecca was in her office, going through some documents, when her phone buzzed. It was her mother calling. She smiled, knowing her mother probably had something amusing to say. "Hello, Mum," Rebecca answered cheerfully. "Rebecca, my dear, how are you?" Her mother's warm voice came through. "I'm fine, Mum. How about you?" "I'm doing well, but I was just thinking. You haven't told me much about Christopher. What does he do for a living?" "I mean, you found such a fine man, and I'm curious," her mother asked, her tone filled with excitement. Rebecca froze for a second, her mind racing. She hadn't expected this question. "Oh, Mum, Christopher is very busy with his work," she said, trying to deflect the question. Her mother wasn't satisfied. "Busy with what exactly? What's his profession?" Rebecca hesitated. She couldn't possibly tell her mother the truth about Christopher. "Well, he's the CEO of a very big company," she lied quickly, her heart pounding. Her mother sounded even more impressed. "A CEO? That's wonderful. What kind of company does he run?" Rebecca's palms began to sweat. She hadn't thought this far ahead. It's a tech company, Mum. You know, software and stuff." "A tech company? That's marvelous. I've always wanted you to end up with someone successful," her mother said, her voice full of pride. "I can't wait to meet my son-in-law." Rebecca forced a laugh. "Soon, Mum. Very soon." After the call ended, Rebecca leaned back in her chair and sighed deeply. "What have I gotten myself into?" she muttered, shaking her head. Meanwhile, at her mother's house, the phone rang again. Her mother picked it up, and to her surprise, it was John. "Good afternoon, Ma," John greeted, his tone overly polite. "Good afternoon. Who is this?" Rebecca's mother asked, slightly confused. This is John. I'm calling because I think you need to know the truth about Rebecca and her so-called fiancé, he said smugly. Rebecca's mother frowned. What do you mean? What truth? John's voice was full of malice as he replied, That man she's with, Christopher, is not who you think he is. He's not a CEO or anything close to it. He's just a poor beggar she picked up off the streets. She's lying to you, Ma. Her mother's mouth dropped open. A beggar? No, that can't be true. My Rebecca would never do such a thing. Ask her yourself if you think I'm lying, John said, his voice dripping with satisfaction. Rebecca's mother ended the call, her hands trembling slightly. This can't be true, she whispered to herself. She quickly sent Rebecca a text message. Rebecca, come to my house this weekend. We need to talk. Back at her office, Rebecca saw the message and felt her stomach twist into knots. She had a feeling this weekend was going to be far from pleasant. Rebecca walked into her home, her mind still replaying the strange text her mother had sent. She was barely through the door when Christopher approached her, looking concerned. Rebecca, we need to talk, Christopher said, his tone serious. Rebecca raised an eyebrow. What is it? Christopher sighed. Tasha came by earlier today while you were at work. Rebecca immediately frowned. What does she want now? And why does she keep showing up here uninvited? She said she knew you weren't home, Christopher began cautiously. She started saying all kinds of things. She told me she liked me and that she's wealthier than you. She claimed she's more fun to be with and tried to convince me you weren't good enough for me. Rebecca's eyes widened in shock, then narrowed in anger. She said all that. Yes, Christopher said. I told her I wasn't interested and that she should leave. She looked embarrassed and left angrily. Rebecca was furious. That snake. I can't believe she would stoop so low, after everything I've done for her. And now she has the audacity to come here and say those things to you. She began pacing the room. Christopher watched her calmly. Rebecca, I think you should calm down. She's not worth your energy. Rebecca stopped pacing and turned to him. Calm down. You don't understand, Christopher. Tasha doesn't take rejection lightly. She's vindictive. I wouldn't be surprised if she's already gone behind my back to cause trouble. What do you mean? Christopher asked, curious. Rebecca sighed deeply, rubbing her temples. My mother sent me a message earlier today asking me to come over this weekend. She sounded urgent, like she knows something she shouldn't. What if Tasha is behind it? What if she's gone to my mother and said something to sabotage us? Christopher frowned. That's a big assumption, Rebecca. Are you sure Tasha would go that far? Rebecca scoffed. Oh, I know her too well. She's petty and thrives on creating drama. If she's the one behind this, I promise you, Christopher, she will regret it. She will wish she never crossed paths with me. Christopher placed a hand on her shoulder, his voice calm and steady. Rebecca, listen to me. I understand you're upset, but let's not jump to conclusions. For now, go to your mother's house this weekend and hear what she has to say. Don't accuse Tasha until you have proof. Rebecca crossed her arms, her anger still simmering. You're right. I'll go and see what's going on. But if I find out Tasha is involved, our so-called friendship is over. She'll know what it feels like to mess with Rebecca. Christopher smiled gently. Just be careful, okay? Sometimes it's better to stay away from people like her altogether. Rebecca nodded. You're right. I'm done with her. For now, I'll focus on whatever my mother wants to discuss. But believe me, if Tasha is behind this, she'll regret ever opening her mouth. Christopher chuckled softly, pulling her into a comforting hug. You're a strong woman, Rebecca. You'll handle this. As they sat together, Rebecca's mind raced. She couldn't shake the feeling that Tasha was somehow involved. Rebecca stood in the kitchen, staring at the ingredients on the counter. She was supposed to be deciding what to cook for dinner, but her mind kept drifting back to what Christopher had told her earlier. Tasha's audacity left a bitter taste in her mouth, and she couldn't shake the anger bubbling within her. Unable to contain herself any longer, Rebecca grabbed her phone and scrolled to Tasha's number. She hesitated for a moment before hitting the call button. The phone rang twice before Tasha picked up, her voice cheerful. Rebecca, what's up, girl? Rebecca didn't waste time with pleasantries. Tasha, I just want to know one thing. Did you or did you not come to my house to hit on Christopher? There was a brief pause before Tasha laughed nervously. What? Rebecca, where's this coming from? Tasha, don't play games with me. Christopher told me everything. You came here, said all sorts of nonsense about me, and even tried to convince him to leave me for you. Is that true or not? Tasha sighed dramatically. Oh, Rebecca, you're overreacting. It's not what you think. Then what is it, Tasha? Rebecca demanded, her patience wearing thin. Fine, Tasha admitted. I went to your house, but it wasn't serious. I was just testing him. Rebecca's jaw dropped. Testing him? What do you mean testing him? Tasha's tone turned defensive. You talk about Christopher so much, Rebecca. I just wanted to see if he's really worth all the hype. I mean, you're acting like he's the best thing that's ever happened to you. I was curious, that's all. Rebecca's grip on the phone tightened. Curious? Tasha, do you even hear yourself? You came into my home, insulted me behind my back, and tried to flirt with Christopher, all because you were curious. How dare you? Rebecca, you're blowing this out of proportion, Tasha said dismissively. It was harmless. And honestly, you're too sensitive. Sensitive? Rebecca's voice rose. Tasha, you crossed a line. You disrespected me, my relationship, and my home. You had no right to do what you did. And for what? To satisfy your so-called curiosity? Tasha sighed again, her tone bored. Oh, come on, Rebecca. Don't be so dramatic. It's not like he's really your boyfriend anyway. Rebecca's heart pounded, but she kept her voice steady. You know what, Tasha? I've had enough of you. This isn't the first time you've shown me who you really are, but it will be the last. Stay away from me, my life, and my relationship. We're done. Do you hear me? Done. Rebecca, don't be ridiculous. Rebecca didn't let her finish. Goodbye, Tasha, she said coldly, hanging up the phone with finality. She stood there for a moment, staring at the phone in her hand, her chest rising and falling with anger. How had she let someone like Tasha stay in her life for so long? Christopher walked into the kitchen just then, noticing the stormy look on her face. Is everything okay? Rebecca took a deep breath and nodded. It is now. I just ended a toxic friendship that should have ended a long time ago. Christopher walked closer, placing a comforting hand on her shoulder. Good for you, Rebecca. You don't need people like that in your life. Rebecca nodded, feeling a sense of relief wash over her. You're right. I'm done letting people like Tasha bring me down. From now on, I'm focusing on what really matters. Christopher smiled. And what matters? Rebecca looked at him, her expression softening. The people who truly care about me. The weekend came, and Rebecca arrived at her mother's house, her heart pounding as if it were about to leap out of her chest. She knew the conversation ahead wouldn't be easy. Her mother was waiting for her in the living room, arms crossed, an expression of disappointment etched on her face. Rebecca sat down, trying to avoid her mother's intense gaze. Hi, Mum, she said cautiously, forcing a smile. Her mother didn't return the smile. Rebecca, she began sternly, why did you lie to me about Christopher? Rebecca's heart sank. Mum, I can explain. Explain? Her mother interrupted. So you paid him to pretend to be your fiancé just to fool me? That's bad, my daughter, really bad. Rebecca lowered her head, ashamed. Mum, I didn't mean for it to go this far. The pressure was just too much. You kept insisting I find someone. First, it was just an arrangement, but... She hesitated, her voice softening. Now I'm in love with him. Her mother's expression softened slightly. You're in love with him? Rebecca nodded. Yes, Mum. He's kind, honest, and he makes me happy. I know it started off wrong, but my feelings for him are real. Her mother sighed. I understand the pressure I put on you, but you should have ignored me if it was too much. Rebecca looked up, a small smile tugging at her lips. Mother, ignore you? Don't you know how stubborn you can be? You wouldn't have let me breathe until I introduced someone. Her mother couldn't help but laugh at that. Well, you're not wrong. If you're truly happy with Christopher, then I don't mind his status anymore. What matters is your happiness. We can make Christopher into whatever we want him to be. If he loves you and is willing to grow, then that's all I care about. Rebecca's eyes widened in surprise. Really, Mum? Mrs. Phillips nodded. Really? Bring my son-in-law to see me soon. Rebecca blinked, stunned. Son-in-law already? Mum, he hasn't even proposed yet. Her mother laughed. Oh, don't worry, he will. I can feel it. Rebecca couldn't stop smiling as she hugged her mother tightly. "Thank you, Mum. You have no idea how much this means to me." When she got home, Rebecca wasted no time sharing the good news with Christopher. "Guess what?" she exclaimed, practically bursting with excitement. Christopher raised an eyebrow. "What happened?" Rebecca smiled. "My mum said she doesn't care about your status anymore. She just wants me to be happy, and—" She hesitated for dramatic effect. "She called you her son-in-law." Christopher laughed, his deep voice filling the room. "Son-in-law, huh? That's a big promotion." Rebecca nodded. "I know, right? You're moving up in the world." Christopher looked thoughtful for a moment before a mischievous smile spread across his face. He got down on one knee, pulling a small box from his pocket. Rebecca gasped, her hands flying to her mouth. "Christopher, what are you doing?" He opened the box, revealing a beautiful engagement ring. "Rebecca, will you marry me?" he asked, his voice filled with emotion. Rebecca blinked, stunned. "Wait, did my mum put you up to this?" Christopher laughed. "No, she didn't, but hearing that she's on our side gave me the courage to do what I've wanted to do for a while now. So what do you say?" Tears filled Rebecca's eyes as she nodded. "Yes, Christopher, I'll marry you." Christopher slipped the ring onto her finger and stood up, pulling her into a warm embrace. "I promise to make you happy, Rebecca." Rebecca smiled through her tears. "You already do, Christopher. You already do." The couple spent the rest of the evening celebrating, dreaming of their future together. For the first time in a long time, Rebecca felt like everything was falling into place. And this time, it was no longer an act. It was real. A few months later, Rebecca and Christopher stood hand in hand, exchanging vows in front of friends, family, and well-wishers. The ceremony was beautiful, filled with laughter and tears of joy. Christopher, dressed in a sharp suit, couldn't take his eyes off Rebecca, who looked radiant in her elegant gown. As they sealed their love with a kiss, Rebecca's mother clapped the loudest, her heart bursting with pride. The couple's journey from a chance encounter to this magical moment was nothing short of a fairy tale. 2 years later, Christopher was no longer the humble man who once roamed the streets. With Rebecca's unwavering support and her mother's guidance, he had transformed into a confident and successful businessman, the CEO of a thriving logistics company. His office, a towering glass building, bore the name Christopher and Company, a testament to how far he had come. Rebecca, always his cheerleader, balanced her career and her role as his partner with grace. The love they shared had only grown stronger over the years. One sunny afternoon, Christopher returned home early to surprise Rebecca. As he walked through the door, he saw her playing on the floor with their 1-year-old daughter, Grace. The sight melted his heart. Rebecca looked up and smiled. "Hey, Mr. CEO, home so soon?" Christopher grinned. "Couldn't wait to see my 2 favorite girls." He picked up Grace, who giggled and reached for his tie. Rebecca joined them, wrapping her arms around Christopher's waist. "I still can't believe this is our life," Christopher said, his voice filled with gratitude. Rebecca smiled. "Well, believe it. You've earned every bit of it." Christopher looked at her with deep admiration. "No, Rebecca, we earned it together. I wouldn't be here without you." That evening, as they sat on the balcony watching the sunset, Rebecca reflected on their journey. "Christopher," she said, "do you remember how it all started? A fake engagement." Christopher laughed. "How could I forget? And look where we are now. It's funny how life works." Rebecca nodded. "It's a reminder that sometimes the unexpected paths lead us to the most beautiful destinations." Moral lesson. True love sees beyond circumstances, status, and appearances. It thrives on support, belief, and shared dreams. Rebecca's kindness, patience, and faith in Christopher gave him the confidence to rise above his past, and Christopher's humility and determination proved that everyone deserves a chance to shine. Life may not always start perfectly, but with love, perseverance, and the right people by your side, even the most unlikely beginnings can lead to a happily ever after. Dear viewers, if you enjoyed this story, please like, share, and subscribe. Don't forget to turn on notifications for more inspiring tales. Stay blessed, and thank you for your support.